Thanks for staying with Newsfeed PM. So why does it seem that there was no political and parliamentary oversight when things went south at the Passenger Rail Agency of South Africa? Well, former board chair of that agency, Popo Molefe, told the State Capture Commission of Inquiry this week that he sent a letter via email and a physical copy to then Speaker of the National Assembly, Baleka Mbete, asking for help as the board wanted a public inquiry into the affairs at the agency. This letter was sent to not only Mbete, but to Parliament's Public Accounts watchdog, Scopa, and then Chair Themba Godi, the Transport Oversight Committee, and to the chief whips of these committees. Well, we have the former Scopa Chair, Themba Godi, to tell us more about this. Mr. Godi, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us this afternoon. It's certainly a worrying picture that we also saw coming out of the State Capture Commission of Inquiry this week. It was not new. In March, we started hearing bits of it from Popo Molefe, but now this week, hearing some, serious allegations being leveled against this particular entity of government, and just how, widespread corruption is set to, be continuous and continuing and being the order of the day there. As somebody that, chaired Scopa, you've also heard from PRASA itself. Are you surprised by what we heard this week at all?
Well, thank you very much for having me. I think for me and those who served with me in the committee, as well as the Auditor General, there was no surprise. All what happened was to bring to the public display some of the things that we had to contend with. And you'll note that at the end of each year, the Auditor General produces what is called a general report that gives a broad summary of the challenges that are there in government entities. And I think all the horror stories that Mr. Molefe gave were always contained on an annual basis in those reports.
And the fact that these horror stories are contained in these reports, and I mean going as far as saying that it does look like there was no political will to even deal with some of these concerns that he continuously says that he was raising with either Parliament, with either the Minister, with either any, person of accountability. Did you hear him at some point saying that he had approached the top six of the ANC to try and get these, problems resolved? Were you aware of that at all?
Well, yes, I was aware of that. You recall that in his testimony, Mr. Molefe indicated that the only committee that gave him an ear and had an interest in the issues that he was raising was the Standing Committee on Public Accounts, which I was chairing. We had meetings with the board and management of PRASA, but I also had an engagement with him as the chairperson. And that is where he indicated to me that, look, I had engaged the political leadership of the ruling party to indicate to them the challenges that were there. So yes, I knew that beyond Parliament, he had gone political to try and talk to the powers that be.
And at the time, what did he tell you was the response of the governing party?
Well, look, I think my sense, and which I think came out during the testimony, was that he was a frustrated person in terms of not having gotten the kind of political support that he otherwise thought he would have. And he himself, being a veteran of the struggle and therefore not having any complex when dealing with the leadership of the ANC, he believed that his honest account to them on what is transpiring in PRASA would elicit some positive response, because he felt when they made him chairperson of PRASA, he was given the right to run and do whatever was necessary and was within his powers as a chairperson together with his board. But I think at the end of the day, as we now know and have seen, there was no, I think, like you indicated at the beginning, the major challenge was lack of political will to make sure that administration does the right thing.
And what did you do as the former Scopa chair to try and resolve some of the challenges that he was raising at PRASA?
Well, look, like I said, I had engagements with him to try and have a better understanding. I mean, after receiving his, remember the letter I sent to Parliament was actually not addressed to me. It was addressed to the Speaker, but I was merely copied for information. But however, I engaged with him. We had an engagement with PRASA in Parliament, but we also, that was Transnet. Yes, we had an engagement with them in Parliament where we sought to understand what was going on, but also to take the report of the Auditor General and put it before us. The purpose of parliamentary engagement with the entities is to make sure that we shake management and the board to do their job, because if a manager engages in corruption, it is not, the first port of call is not Scopa. The first port of call is the CFO and the CEO, beyond which it is the board, beyond which it is the minister, before you even go to Parliament. So by the time things come to Parliament, it tells you that one, there was no political will, two, management was not responding to the board, or the board was also in collusion in relation to the corruption. And thirdly, you also have the Auditor General who will have reported on these issues and actually indicated the things that needed to be done. So when there is no movement, it is purely and simple because there is just no political will to make sure that the right things are done.
Last year, an administrator was appointed by Transport Minister Fikile Mbalula Bongiwe Zwane, who said, a part of what he said was they're deeply concerned about the audit findings at this entity. PRASA is a broken organization with no policies, no systems, no controls, unnecessary duplications. He even described the problems at PRASA as self-inflicted, and most of them internal. Now, this is someone that spoke last year, and a lot of what Mr. Molefe is talking about is not, something that happened yesterday at PRASA. How do you think we got to this point? Apart from the lack of political will, how did we get to this point where PRASA, such an important entity, is being described in this manner?
Well, look, lack of political will is the source of the problems. But beyond that, then you have a myriad of other challenges. One, when you don't have stability at the top, you don't have a stable management team, it is difficult to build a culture of accountability and doing the right things. Two, if you have a lot of vacancies in an entity, it means you don't have the capacity and the skills to run the entity properly. If you have people on an acting capacity, you'll have all those challenges. And I think all those things that I've described, one would say one is describing PRASA. For quite a long time, there has been no stability. Right now, as we're talking, I have received reports, even though I'm no longer in Parliament, from companies that say PRASA has not paid them. And some were even making allegations that they are being removed because some minister wants to put his company where they have been hired. So the desire to look at SOEs as milking cows, both at a political and administrative level, has been at the root of all this instability and all these shenanigans that have been there in PRASA and many other entities, by the way.
Should the ANC take responsibility for what happened here?
Look, I have always had the view that a political party that cannot manage public funds has no business running a country. And the African National Congress has been in power for 26 years. In terms of administrative efficiency and in terms of putting the interests of the people first, I think the ANC has hopelessly failed to do that. And as Scopa, both members of the ANC, the DA, the EFF, the IFP were all united in saying wrong is wrong. Let right be done in the interest of our people. But at the end of the day, it is the executive, it is management that must execute. And there we failed.
Where should those in authority begin to try and fix things at PRASA?
I think, look, the terrible thing about all of this is that people are very good at wrecking institutions, which must be rebuilt at great, great cost. Just look at the problems that our people experience in the mornings, from Pretoria to Joburg, from Khayelitsha to Cape Town, going to work, all because of mismanagement. I think it is going to really need much more than just political will to get PRASA on its feet. We need people who are committed, people who are dedicated, people who are skilled, people who have a vision to go back into PRASA. Otherwise, if PRASA collapses, then you're collapsing the economy, because look at the millions of people that PRASA transports every day from their homes to work. So it is a huge undertaking, and my worry has always been that some of the people in the ANC just don't seem to be aware of the magnitude of the problem before us and the kind of fortitude that is required to turn things around.
And also, looking at the current Scopa chair, Mkhuleko Hlengwa, your successor, they're saying that he's looking into also declaring, the interim board as well as some of the previous boards as delinquent directors to prevent their appointment to any other boards. Do you think this will help at all? And is it, also something that could also move towards ensuring accountability here?
Well, look, insofar as PRASA is concerned, I'm not sure whether I would want to start by saying the previous boards of PRASA necessarily have acted in a way that would say let them be declared delinquent directors necessarily. We've seen the SAA saga, which is quite problematic in the way it has come across. I think if you look at PRASA or you look at the post office, you find that there is a combination of factors that are interlocking that were all designed to make sure that the entity collapses. I think in the first instance, look, who appoints people into boards that have no capacity? And what was the objective of appointing such people? I think that is, for me, the starting point, because it is the executive, it is cabinet that appoints boards of directors. What do they look for when they appoint a person to be in a board of, say, Eskom or SAA or PRASA or Transnet? So when those people go there and fail, yes, they are guilty for accepting responsibilities beyond their capacities. But who appointed them? And what was the objective for doing that? I think such people equally need to be held accountable.
Mr. Godi, I just need us to pause there for a moment. We continue with this discussion after this.